Check out the latest highlights from the Nourishing You podcast. As you were talking, I was picturing, and tell me if this is accurate, that we all have a bucket every day, and all those different stressors that you were talking about, fills up the bucket a little bit. And overnight, maybe we can let that drain so that the next day we can start over. But if we go too far, that bucket's going to overflow, and that's the point of no return.
And I think you could apply that to anything in life. You have a job and you get a certain amount of money. And if you walk into the big department store every day and spend $10,000 on an evening gown, your bank bucket's going to be in trouble. So I think everything in life is like that. Yes, you can handle, but if you're smart about what you're doing, you will put money away, and then you will still be able to pay all your bills, but yet you'll have this extra money for a time when you do want to buy the dress or go on vacation. So absolutely. And I think, unfortunately, what happens is that in our society today, stress begets stress. So people will say, well, I'm stressed out. So then they're going to have 2 or 3 glasses of wine. Then that's got a lot of inflammatory problems with it. And it's not that I'm against having a glass of wine here and there, but if that became in a lot of people a regular basis, they were drinking 2 or 3 glasses every night. So that throws the microbiome off, and it creates a lot of histamine. So the byproduct of bacterial fermentation, we want some of that, like we try to eat good fermented foods. But when you pile too much in and that histamine bucket elevates, that also gets into your central nervous system. Then you can't relax. Then you can't sleep. And then that bucket fills up. So I think it's the behaviors meets how we live our life. And then when that becomes crazy, then we drive to foods that then go to our central nervous system and up elevate the dopamine, which are less good quality foods. And I think people have to understand that all of that together will, in fact, like you said, overflow your bucket till you don't feel good. And where I think it's really important to understand, having lived this, you can do all the tests in the world that you want. You can check your cortisol. You can take adaptogenic herbs and all kinds of supplements, but you really have to go back to what are the basics that is keeping your body balanced in the first place.
Yeah. Something in this conversation, it just makes me go back to this thought of, I can't get through a conversation really with anyone anymore without the word stress coming up. Mm-hmm. It's almost like the word stress has become, it's almost overused. And every situation where we're busy, or we have a long list of things to do, or a lot of responsibilities, all of a sudden, all of those things now equate to stress. And I wonder how much impact just giving that name to what our daily life pattern is causing extra stress in the body, because we're perceiving being busy, having a lot of things to do, and maybe things we enjoy doing, but it's a lot of them. But just perceiving that it's stress is making us feel more agitated around it, more stressed around it. What do you think?
Yeah. And I think, what I think the big key with that is that goes to living in the moment versus humans are the only ones that kind of live in the past and live in the future, right? That's where anxiety comes from. The little bug that's crawling on your floor that you step on, that guy doesn't know he's about to die. And only humans really know that. So we perseverate. Am I going to lose my job? Am I not going to lose my job? Am I going to go in for COVID? Are we going to stay at home? Am I going to get to sleep at night? Am I going to be able to make all this done? So I think we don't live enough in the moment. That's a very big, I do a lot of yoga. I learned a lot about doing yoga when I got sick. And it's a very live in the moment practice. It's about breathing. It's about calming your system. I do a lot of vinyasa flow yoga, and I do a lot of yin. I probably do 10 or 15 minutes of yin yoga every night. And there's a ton, if your patients or if you're on this, or you're a practitioner that has patients on this, there's a ton of YouTube videos that people can do at home. That's 10, 15 minutes of yin yoga, which will get you stretch and breathing before you go to bed. And when you breathe in, but breathe out more than you breathe in. So breathe in for 4, out for 6. what you're doing with that is you're bringing your parasympathetic nervous system into play, and you'll calm your system. So I think that if we could be more solid that way, I think a lot of those perseverative thoughts would disappear, and you would find that anxiety would go away. And then I'm stressed and I'm anxious, and I'm anxious because I'm stressed. I think you're exactly right. That would disappear. And I think we would, if we lived more in the moment, we'd be probably a nicer people, because a lot of this stress and anxiety has created impatience and frustration, which brings on more stress and creates your interpersonal reactions to be just sort of less nice.
If you enjoyed this short episode, check out our full library on our NAMP YouTube channel, where you can catch up or learn more. Keep in mind that the information on the NAMP podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical or legal advice. The NAMP is not liable or responsible for any harm, damage, or illness arising from the use of the information contained herein. By listening to the information on this podcast, you agree to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless the NAMP and all agents. Copyright NAMP, all rights reserved.